everybody.
Welcome to Kirsty and Bryony's Comfort Zone.
I am Kirsty.
I am Bryony.
And we are going to delve into some dreams today, but not our dreams.
No.
Because we have a guest today.
We've been rewarded because our podcast is so highly scientific and accurate, we've been rewarded with a visit from an actual science. One actual science.
I'm here to shut you down.
Oh no.
We've heard about you.
We have got the science themselves, Dr. Simon Clark.
Hello, that's me.
Hello.
How would you describe what do you do? Who are you? How'd you get in here?
I'm a locksmith. So my science background is I'm an atmospheric physicist. So I did a undergrad and master's in physics, and then I did a PhD in stratospheric dynamics, which is a bunch of equations with how the atmosphere moves around, basically. So I'm not speaking for all of science. Very much only the physicsy bits.
You have it here. The voice of science.
The voice of all science. You heard it. You heard it from the science's mouth.
And usually we're recording this during. It feels like live because it feels like a job interview. I am on one side of a table.
Oh, yeah.
And Kirsty and Bryony are on the other side. I feel like
very
I'm being
intense.
grilled for a
It's
position.
incredibly intense.
It really is. Also, we're very professionally lit. We're in Yog Studios, and
We
this
are.
feels like I feel like I'm in a movie.
This is actually the first time we have recorded a podcast in person, so it feels very strange. I feel like I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing physically. I'm just like talk like you're on a podcast.
This
You
is
get
my
the words
first
out.
time recording that I've not been wearing pajamas as well.
Yeah, me too.
We all had to get dressed up for this. Sorry.
Well, Kirsty was saying before you got here, she was like, should we put on our onesies to intimidate Simon? Would that have been more or less
power
intimidating?
move.
Yeah, if I was just sitting here dressed as a Pikachu, would you be more or less
I feel like
intimidated?
it would make me more at home, I think. Like, a very comforting atmosphere. It would make me feel like less of a job interview, or at least a job interview for somewhere where I'd want to work.
Well, it's like when they say dress for the job you want. You want to be
I
Pikachu.
want to be Pikachu.
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah.
I've never had a sit-down job interview formally like this. Like,
Really?
I worked at
No.
Co-op when I was a kid, and I had to do one there, but not like a, hello, fellow adult. I would like money, please, for a job kind of job interview.
Oh god,
Like,
I've had to do a few. I remember I applied for a farm once. It was on a National Trust site, and it was to look after the animals in this farm. It was very simple. But I ended up fluffing the interview because I got too comfortable with the interviewers. They were
slapped
very
them on the
friendly. I
ass.
slapped them on the ass. No, they were very friendly, and they were like, "Oh, what would you do if there was a kid causing trouble over here by the donkeys or something?" And I ended up basically saying, I try and get them to stop, but if they're acting like an idiot, they might get kicked by a donkey, and that's not ideal. Like, you need to sort this out. I was just like, what am I doing? What am I saying? I'm talking about hurting children with donkeys. What is going on?
play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
That's it. That was
I
pretty
volunteer
much.
with kids. I 100% stand by that answer.
I was just like, they might not like that, but it's the truth.
I think my last in-person interview was when I got the job at the vet, and they genuinely said the sentence to me, if you could ask this next question and not mention bunnies, what do you think? And I was like, oh my gosh. Because literally everything they said, they were like, what do you like about working with animals? And I was
Bunnies.
like, I have bunnies, so
I like bunnies.
As a bunny enjoyer.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a reasonable answer to that question. Like,
Yeah. So does that mean you've never sat down and been asked like really weird interview questions then?
No, I mean, when I did the PhD, like I applied for multiple PhDs, they ask you like scientific questions, but it's always like, describe your research. Like what appeals to you about this project? It's never like, if you were trapped in a burning room with an old woman and a baby, which one would you rescue? Like, I've never had to deal with that kind of problem.
Honestly, I think I prefer the scientific questions. I remember for my degree, when I had like the interview at the end after submitting my dissertation, I ended up crying because I hated it so much.
oh no.
But even so, I'd prefer that than being asked, what type of biscuit are you?
Well, the thing is, like when you finish a PhD, you do what's called a viva,
Yes,
which is
that was it.
your kind of spoken examination, and they typically take 2 or 3 hours. Whereas like they can be 7 or 8 hours long.
Oh
like,
my God.
You go into it knowing that you could be in for like a long haul.
Yeah.
But also every single person I've spoken to that's done one of these has said they've forgotten a fundamental thing, like a
Yeah.
basic thing about their field. Like I have a friend who has a PhD in biology and he forgot the formula for like respiration.
Oh no.
Like GCSE biology knowledge. And I totally blanked on something called the Brewer-Dobson circulation, which is like one of the most important things in my field. And they had to like prompt me for it. And you feel like you're just dying inside. But I feel like it's something that everyone goes through. Everyone in these, in response to scientific questions,
Yeah.
becomes an idiot briefly.
I mean, I very much, even if they say like name, I'm like, oh, geez, I don't know. Think of a name, any name.
Bunnies.
I have bunnies.
Oh, I dread to think though, like the Viva, because when I did, mine was just a BSc. Like I say, just a BSc. It was still a BSc, but it wasn't a PhD or a master's. And we did a baby Viva, and it was only like half an hour, and that was bad enough.
But it's still intimidating, like because
Yeah.
you're speaking to people
There
who are
was like
professors
a
in this
panel
field.
of like 8 people there sitting in front of us, and it was like I don't remember anything.
That's the thing. We do that this way in the UK, but then if you're in like in America, you have like an academic panel, and you give a presentation with an audience.
Yeah.
Like all your friends and
God.
family come to watch your thesis defense, and it's like,
See, I did an art degree, so they just kicked us out at the end. They were like, thank you for the money.
good luck.
They literally brought someone in from, I think it was the British Journal of Photography on the last day to give us a talk about how none of us would get a job in the field. And I was like,
Wow,
thank you.
setting those expectations nice and low.
Yeah. Now leave.
Well, honestly, when I started my degree, the third year of my degree, because I went to a new university for the final year, they basically said to us, so you guys know that you're here because you love animals, right? You know you're not going to get a well-paid job. And everyone was like, yeah,
Yes, sir.
we like picking up poop.
Yeah.
They actually did something. So this may be surprising to some people, but when I started the PhD, they did like an orientation session for like these are your likely outcomes, because there's a sort of kind of secret, which is that once you start a PhD, it's actually kind of difficult to fail. Like very few people will start a PhD and then not get one at the end, but they showed a Sankey diagram, so like the arrows that split and sort of, this many people will end up doing this by the end. And I think it's like 0.5% of people that start a PhD will end up as a professor. Like they set this expectation of if you're doing this thinking you're going to stay in academia, you're almost certainly wrong.
Yeah.
Which was a bit like, okay. Like, most of you are going to leave after the PhD and you're going to go into a different field. And I was like, I won't do that. And now I'm on a podcast with 2 people talking about my dreams.
You are.
This is technically part of my job.
So, do you like talking about dreams? Is it something that you
I
avoid?
struggle
or-
talking about dreams because I don't normally remember them.
Yeah.
Like I very much there's an XKCD comic about this where like it's very vivid for like 30 seconds and then it like the details crumble away and it's like feeling Thanos snapped. So what I did for this was record it, and it's the first time I've ever done that where I've like caught it when it's fresh out of the oven. A metaphor that will be relevant for bits of this dream. But yeah, like I don't normally talk about them because it normally they're kind of nonsensical
Yeah.
or like they're not appropriate to talk with most people about.
Yeah.
Like, not even necessarily them being sexy, but just them being weird. I feel like I waited for quite a while to record one that I felt was like threading the needle for this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird, but not that weird.
Honestly, though, you're probably in good company because her dreams are always sexy and mine are always weird. So.
Between the two of us, we got the bases covered. It's like the other day we did a recording and I said to Kirsty before, I was like, just so you know, I didn't put this in, but this is what actually happened during this part of the dream that I glossed over, and you just have to know about that we can't
The
talk about
context is
it.
I can't
important.
talk about it.
And then she's listening to it like, oh, oh okay.
I mean, my wife, interestingly, my wife actually described a dream to me like 2 days ago that she had where she went to the like grocery store, like a Tesco or whatever. And no, it was a farm shop. It was a farm shop. And she ended up picking up like bags of cat litter. But when she opened the cat litter, there were babies inside.
Oh my god.
And it was like, there are 4 babies we've now got to look after. And that was like, the whole dream was like some nightmare of child ownership. And it was like, can we get rid of these things? Like, I was like, I don't think we're ready to have kids, hun. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's where you get babies from, for one thing.
Bag of cat litter.
Don't let the cat piss on the baby.
It's very good advice there.
Yeah,
This is why we have a
scientific
scientist
advice.
on.
Exactly. It's very
Don't let
good
your
advice.
cat piss on your baby. They're not very absorbent.
No, true.
Well, actually, humans are almost completely watertight, right? Like skin forms
Yeah.
a watertight barrier. Like it
Yeah.
absorbs some water, but you're almost entirely watertight. So like, I suppose if a cat does piss on your baby, it's not that big of a deal.
This is one of the things I've never understood, because when people are like, water dries out your skin, I'm like, wait, what? How?
Well, because I think it dries out the skin in the sense that it takes ions.
Yeah.
It's not the water that leaves your skin, but it's like all the salts and stuff for osmosis will leave your
It's trying
body.
to balance out.
It's a semi-permeable membrane. I'm remembering my GCSE biology.
Yeah, me too. I'm just having
I'm stretched to my limit
flashbacks,
here.
I'm going to use this podcast now to just answer all the science questions that I've never understood.
But fun fact about, so when your fingers prune up, there is a theory that our fingers do that because when you're in a wet environment, you need help to grip onto things.
Oh.
And when your fingers are wrinkly, they are that bit better at gripping stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like your
Yeah,
body
I've heard
adapting to an environment, which is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. I had a really embarrassing thing the other day where I thought I was asking a really clever question because I didn't actually understand how belly buttons were made.
Okay.
So I was saying, in my mind, up until about a week ago, belly buttons were a modern day invention where it was like
I'm leaning back
tying-
in my chair.
it was like tying the end of a balloon, and it's how they tied the end of the umbilical cord and pushed it in. And if you got a doctor who wasn't great at it, you get an outie, but the good ones knew to like push it the right way. So I, thinking I was being clever, was saying to Trot, so do you reckon cavemen had belly buttons? And he was like, of course they had belly buttons. Like, why wouldn't they? And I was like, what, really? In those days, they knew how? And he was like, what? And I had to explain to him, and he laughed at me for so long.
You made a member of Hat Films look scientific. Oh, I wish I'd been a fly on the wall in that moment.
Oh my god.
That's
He was
hilarious.
like almost cry laughing at me, just like, that's the best thing I've ever had. I was like, oh, but I thought I was being really like, I've had a philosophical question I could ask you.
Do you think cavemen's have belly buttons?
Like, do androids dream of electric sheep? Do cavemen have belly buttons? That's up there. I mean, yeah, okay. I won't hold. Yeah.
Oh my
The
god.
funny thing is, like a few years ago, my sister, when she'd had my niece, when my niece was still a baby, she pointed at something and was like, oh, that's her belly button. And I was like, what? And then I never questioned it. And now I'm like, oh, that's what she meant. Okay. I get it.
It reminds
now.
me of the time when I was at school doing my GCSEs. I convinced a friend of mine that frogs breathe helium because in Shrek, he grabs the frog and he blows it up and turns it into a balloon. And she believed me for the longest time.
That frogs breathe helium
Yeah.
based on the evidence that an ogre breathed out into a frog.
I guess it makes sense because you're stopping the helium going out, so then it's just filling
That's
them out.
it. Yeah, he's about
Yeah, but surely the logical conclusion for this would be that ogres breathe out helium,
yeah.
not that frogs
Potentially.
breathe in. Like, I feel like there's a whole load of. We're not here to talk about that today. How long is this podcast normally?
Oh yeah, do you know we
What time did we
usually
start?
about 2 on the dot.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Just going to check on my phone. It's not here.
Yeah, because normally, of course, you can see the recording in Audition
Yeah.
or Audacity or whatever.
Yeah, we're going in blind
We got
this
to keep
time.
track.
Ironically, the first time we can see each other.
We're going in
Going in
blind.
blind.
Well, should we have a listen to your dream?
Yeah.
Okay, it is a 4-minute file. So, do you want to break this up into bits?
4's probably fine.
Yeah, we're
honestly.
good to go through.
Yeah. We're
We have
pros.
some long, rambly dreams.
I apologise in advance. I also can only remember part of this. So, here we go.
So I've finally had a dream that I can remember, and I've just fed the cat in the morning, so she's not going to scream over me telling you about it. So last night I had a dream about staying in a friend's house and for some reason making a lot of bread, like different kinds of bread. I think garlic bread was one of them. There were like 2 different kinds in the oven. And there was also a kind of bread that I was making in the microwave. And basically just, I kind of stayed up all night like, I remember getting to sort of 3 a.m. and looking at the time and thinking, yeah, but the clocks have gone back. So it's really only 2 a.m, so it's fine. And sort of going down and like just being up in like my room, wherever I was staying, I think it was a friend's house, and like working on my laptop and then coming back down and being like, yeah, bread's still there. and like checking in on things. And then at one point coming downstairs and the microwave was on fire, and it was like on fire from within. And then I'm looking in the microwave and identifying there was like a loose wire in the diorama that had now for some reason replaced the bread that was being baked in the microwave. There was like a diorama of a guy laying back and a few other people in like, almost like how you put people around a pool. And there was a guy who had like an arm missing that would be supporting the back of his head. And I was like, there's your problem. So let's not reconnect that arm and let's put this flaming microwave to one side. And then I think what then happened was it like got to the morning and I had to get to the centre of town, and I this is now getting to the point where I was straining to remember it. I had to get from where I was staying to the centre of town, and in order to get there most efficiently I had to go up a hill that was like 45 degrees, but I could cut through someone's house because I think either my wife used to live in the house when she was a student, or I just knew people that were in the house. So I went up and knocked on the back door, and I was like, excuse me, you don't know me, but I know that you can get from your back garden to this street. I think my wife used to live here. Do you mind if I come through? And the lady was like, yeah, of course. We sort of went through her little back kitchen and then up into her, like the kind of stairwell where the stairs were going up around the side. And I was like, oh, I love what you've done with the place. And it was full of huge old brass scientific instruments. And I was like, oh, I think that one's a hygrometer. And she was like, what's that? And I went, I don't know, because I don't. I just know that that's a thing. I think it measures moisture. And then there was another, like a big bulky brass thing. And that was like, it had like a name, like Big Bertha or something, or like Deer. Or I don't know. And there was another old lady who was there who was going to tell me all about it. And then like it cut. For some reason my dreams sometimes cut to like me being back on the street and hearing, I think it was my wife or it could have been someone else, being like, hey! So me turning around and looking up and seeing nothing apart from like a bank of terraced houses like, I don't know, 50 meters away. And me being like, where are you? And I heard her go, I'm here. And I remember saying in the dream, anyone on earth can say that, you fucking idiot. And then that's roughly when I woke up. So there you go. Enjoy.
Oh my god.
There we go. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Bryony's been flicking around in the book.
Well, I was curious about the bread. So this is very short. It says, we are looking at our experiences and our basic needs.
Oh.
You need bread.
I could have told you that.
Yeah.
I would assume that it would
Garlic
be
bread
bun
especially.
in the oven. I thought it would be something to do with babies.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I wonder if
But
cooking is
then
in
the
here.
microwave sets alight. And
I gotta admit, I do not remember until just now that there was a microwave or a diorama involved.
Have you been playing Plate Up recently?
Yeah.
Could it be this?
No, I haven't even used a microwave much recently. Like, I do not understand
why?
why or how or why. Like, I like also that it was 2 a.m. and I was like, I better get a
Just
bit of
start
work
making
done.
bread like, oh, the clock's gone back. I can make more bread.
More bread. Bread o'clock. Yeah, so I don't understand a lot of this.
Yeah.
I feel like it was also kind of in Exeter where I went to uni, but also kind of not. It was
Right.
weird the way that dreams are when they're like half familiar but
Yeah.
half not.
Somewhere completely different.
What have we got?
Sure. What are you looking at?
I looked up baker because I wondered if that would be relevant. And it says, our creative ability may need to be enhanced or lightened in order for us to achieve success.
What?
But it also says, if a woman dreams of baking, she will recognize this as her need to nurture. So I guess that would be more the bun in the oven
Why specifically a woman though?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to nurture some bread.
Yeah.
I feel like, like making loads of bread and different varieties of bread. I feel like that's something that I'd want to do because I wanted to feed people. Like we had a
Yeah.
party recently where loads of people stayed over and like we made breakfast in the morning for like loads of people, and like I love doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Yeah.
if it's to do with that or if I
Yeah.
just really like bread because
That's
I do really like bread.
It also says the creative urge, which may need to be pacified, can be seen as the baker.
Creative urge I could see.
Yeah. So I mean, I get the feeling that you always have like a lot of different creative projects on the
Yeah.
go, and
But also, like, a lot of them are just in my head and I don't have time to make them. Like, I have
Yeah.
way more projects and way more ideas than I have hours in the day
Mm-hmm,
or energy. So, like, I think maybe there's something to do with me being frustrated at that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the microwave caught fire.
Maybe.
The diorama would explain that, actually, because, like, that would be a Warhammer thing. I was just like, my Warhammer diorama has caused my microwave to catch fire. It's stopping me from being creative because I'm trying to do too many
Too
things.
busy playing Warhammer.
Yeah.
oh, it does say fire in a dream can suggest passion and desire in its more positive sense, and frustration, anger, resentment, and destructiveness in its more negative. So maybe, just frustration and not being able to make the bread you want to make.
Yeah.
And that bread is Warhammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we have our like little interpretation books, and we know that most of the time the stuff in there is complete rubbish. But it's a good starting point for sort of
Yeah.
looking at the dreams and thinking, you know what, I have been feeling that lately. And maybe that is, something that's been
So-
on my mind. Like, so maybe you have
I mean, I
been.
recorded this, maybe last week?
Yeah.
And I feel like I had a really busy period where I've been away from home like a lot for the past couple of months.
Yeah.
And this has been my first week, this week, where I've actually been at home for an entire week. It's been the first time that's happened in like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's part of me just like wanting to get into a domestic routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of making, make bread for everyone, make garlic bread
Make garlic
specifically for everyone, and don't use the microwave for it. I guess maybe there's an anxiety about me being bad about it.
Oh.
Or maybe the microwave could be like, if there's a project that because obviously sometimes if you don't have time to put a baked potato in the
put it
oven
in
for an
the
hour,
microwave.
you bung it in the microwave. Maybe there's a project you feel like you're rushing
Yeah.
and therefore it's on fire.
I feel like
Because
that's
you've not-
everything. That is every one of my projects.
Smashed it. Perfect.
Like, give me more time.
Yeah. You say about
Yeah.
being like away from home and stuff as well. You ended up dreaming about a house.
But it wasn't
which
my house.
Wasn't your house, but you said it was familiar in your dream. Like your
Yeah, like
partner lived there.
but also like potentially being just in the town that I was familiar with, like where I
Yeah.
went to uni maybe, and yeah, like being definitely remember my wife being like around, and then also like friends I think from uni were there, as if it was almost like the aftermath of a party kind
Yeah.
of vibe.
That's interesting. I've kind of been finding lately, because my dreams have been about like my old houses and old places I used to live and stuff. And I found that a lot of those have started sort of bubbling up because my parents have moved away recently. So my sort of routine of them being near has been disrupted, and maybe sort of maybe something similar with you, with like you've been away from home, you've been
Yeah.
busy, and like in your brain you're like, this is familiar, this
Yeah,
is
latch
familiar.
onto it, yeah.
Latch onto it and make bread for it.
Like that. Also, I'm presumably in a strange environment. It's not my house. What I decide to do is just make a load of bread. I feel like if anybody came into it's a total stranger came into my house and I was like, "What are you doing?" But they were making bread. I'd be like, "Well, carry on.
Yeah,
That's
fine.
thank you."
Save me some.
Why is my microwave on fire?
Do you know, people say like, oh, video games are bad. I think it was actually PlayTup that taught me that if you put nothing in a microwave, it will set fire.
It could set fire.
I didn't know this until I thought Alistair was just winding me up. And then I came in here and I do you remember I set off the microwave and Lewis came over like, what are you doing? There's nothing in the microwave. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, it'll catch fire. I was like, oh, that's real. Oh,
It's a real thing.
so there you go. Games are
Also, if you just
educational.
waft your hands at like grease on the floor, it does disappear.
True.
No, I was a kid that did a lot of experiments with microwaves. I was like putting forks in there and watching
my
the
God.
Oh my
like
god.
watch the electricity arc between each one. And I remember discovering this and getting my mum to be like, "Oh, look at this," and like doing it. She was like, "What are you doing?"
So you're accustomed to setting microwaves on fire.
Yeah,
then.
apparently so. It's just a thing.
I think the worst thing I did like that as a child was when my mum told me not to stamp on cartons because they'd explode, and I was like, no, they won't. And so for some reason, I had a chocolate milk carton, and I blew it up, and I stamped on it in the living room, and it went up the curtains, and I was like, Mother was right.
That's how you get ants. That's
Do you want ants? I'm looking up old woman to see why you shouted at an old woman.
Well, no, I didn't shout at the old woman. There were two old ladies who were in this house together, and I shouted because I was trying to find my wife, who was being very indistinct about where she was.
Yeah.
Which is also a very her thing to do. For me to ask a question and her to give like a wildly incoherent piece of information that's perhaps an answer to another question, but not the question I asked. So that felt very on brand, that part. No, I didn't shout at the old woman. I asked respectfully if I could use their house as like a cut through for this hill, and they responded as if, yeah, this happens a lot, you know. Come through the scientific instrument room.
My dad will tell my mum off for that all the time because she does a typical thing of if someone's in the toilet, she'll be like, "Is that you in there?" And my dad's like, How can you not answer that as yes? Like, of course it's me in here. Whoever's in here, it's me.
I love that this house was also full of all of these big brass instruments.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's this. And she's like, what?
Yeah, I was like,
I don't know.
What's that mean? I don't know. I looked it up afterwards. A hygrometer is something that measures moisture.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So that was probably good. It was like, yeah, I have a kind of clear image in my head. It was like, you know, brass but wooden bits and like the kind of thing that like a 19th century
Like really
gentleman
old school.
scholar would have.
Yeah.
Like, this
The
measures
thing they
Earth's
like finding
magnetic
on
field.
Bargain Hunt. They love finding those sorts of things.
Yeah. But then like apparently something called Big Bertha or something. It's not quite Mons Meg, but it's like I don't know what to make of that in particular. There's obviously some scientific instrument that's looming large in my head. Perhaps this is my desire to want to go back and do research.
Maybe.
And, you know,
Yeah.
go back and do science.
It says a group of old people. Is two old women a group, would you say?
A couple.
A group of old people often appear in dreams. Usually this signifies the traditions and wisdoms of the past.
Oh, okay.
Things sacred to the tribe or family.
So that potentially with the scientific instruments could make sense because it's like this is something the traditions of academia and me wanting to enter into that house to get and the dream cut out. Well, there was like a jump cut in the dream before I left the house, so I wanted to enter but not leave.
Yeah.
So what if I want to? I can't believe I'm talking myself
That's
into
it.
this.
See? You're
Like-
getting it.
I'm entering, wanting to enter back into academia and do something with Big Bertha. Why is it not called that rather than like the LHC or, you know, like I feel like they've really missed the James Webb Space Telescope. No.
Big Bertha.
Big Bertha has sent back images of the start of the universe.
Oh my gosh.
Oh dear.
It's like when they ask people to name things. And you could name it anything, but the next time you're asked, you're going to be like, I have a name.
Yeah. Stand up slowly. I have a suggestion.
It came to me in a dream.
I have foreseen Big Bertha.
What does it do? I don't know. Probably measures something.
Do you remember, are your dreams first person or third person?
First person. People dream in the third person?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I rarely have a first person dream.
Well, I want a second person dream now. I want a dream that it's like Peep Show. It's like it's a chicken Digby Caesar, and I'm just like blundering around. The camera's in my face.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing myself. I want that. I want to try and will that into existence.
Yeah, you could try.
I've never dreamt in the third person. That's wild.
Never dreamt in the third person.
Not that I can remember.
It's like, you know, you hear people on Twitter that are like, I found out today that people have an inner monologue and they can hear their thoughts before they say anything. And it's like, yeah.
I can't imagine
You
not
don't?
having an inner monologue. It would just be,
Mine's constantly running.
yeah.
Especially when I'm trying to go to sleep, actually.
Yeah. But no, some people don't. And I guess it's the same with like dreaming in the first and third person. Like some people do, some people don't.
I feel like I want to read some papers on this. Like I want to,
yeah, it's
no
really
offense to the
interesting.
scientists on this podcast,
Yeah,
but I feel like I
well,
want to
you know.
look up some research on why some people. That's got to be a deep psychological thing,
Yeah.
right?
For
Well,
sure.
apparently, a lot of it can be to do with, I guess, like the media that you're used to taking in. Because there was a time when people would mostly dream in black and white because that's what they were used to seeing and like how stories were told to them, sort of thing. So it can
Because
differ.
there's a theory that we dream because it's like in machine learning. You have a bunch of data that you fit a model to, but then what you do is have some data that you keep separate to avoid overfitting. And there's a theory that we dream, and what we're dreaming is effectively creating new data so that we don't overfit our brains and like our neurons to the experiences that have just happened to us. So it's like disrupting and making, I guess, being more creative. It's like meaning that you don't just fall into doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So like the fact that someone might choose to do that in the first person would make sense because it would be your experiences.
Yeah.
But third person is like you're used to seeing your entire life from someone else's perspective,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting.
I've said in the past, like, even when I'm awake, like, obviously, if I was to sit here and be like, obviously, I'm in the first person because I'm looking out of my eyeballs. But if I think back on a memory, often it's not in the first person. Like, it will be in third person. I'm like, right, I was sitting there, they're sitting there. And I don't think of it as, like, me looking out on other people. Like, so it's the same with my dreams, I guess. Like, I think of waking life like that, and dreams just happen to be the same.
It makes sense.
It's kind of weird. I don't know why I do
That
it. I
is
just,
wild to me.
yeah, I just always have. But
I guess it's like for me finding out that I had aphantasia through Twitter when someone, do you know about
It's just the inability to
aphantasia?
perceive objects in your mind.
Yeah. And I just thought, because it's like, you just assume everyone does the things that you do. So I always thought if someone said like, oh, picture this, I thought that's just a turn of phrase. No one actually pictures it.
Yeah.
And then I saw a thing on Twitter where someone was saying like, I just found out I have aphantasia because I can't do that. And I was like, wait, what? People do this? And then I made the mistake of talking to like a friend of mine who's like, yeah, I can picture like if I think of the beach, I can smell it, I can hear it. It's really like strong for me. And I was like, okay, shut up.
I'm jealous of people who can imagine things that strongly. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, like, there are things that you can't imagine. Like, I can't, if I think of like a bunny, I can't think of it having hands, for example. There's like a roadblock in my mind. Like their paws. There's no opposable thumb.
Well, they do have dew claws on their little front ones. So that's sort of like
claws?
yeah,
Oh, dual.
no,
Dew.
D-E-W.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
They're
they
not-
And they have a different number of fingers to toes. So there
Same as
are
cats.
differences.
Yeah, there are
between-
cats have that as well. Cats don't have hands.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
'Cause
they
how
do.
else
No,
do
they
they knock
don't.
things off of tables?
Yeah, they knock things off tables. And my cat,
bat
he
things
holds
off.
my hand. He squeezes my hand with his hand. He wouldn't do it with his foot. So
It's a paw! I thought I'm taking crazy pills. It's a paw! Someone's going to clip this and put this on the Yogscast subreddit. I know it. It's a paw! It's not a hand!
I don't know. I thought we got a scientist on today.
I'm half tempted to make a big video essay about this. Like, what is and is not a hand?
I would.
I want to interview actual zoologists about this.
Funny you should say that. Hello.
Remind me, what was your degree in again?
Not zoology, animal management, which is the same thing but domestic animals.
Part
and I
of
can
managing
confirm
is holding hands.
that my cat holds my hand with his hand.
That's right, Your Honour.
At the scientific court of justice. Sustained.
If your cat, say, if you had a glass on the table and your cat knocked it off, would you say, oh, she kicked it off the table?
No, I'd say I wouldn't. I'd say she knocked it off. I wouldn't also say she handed it off the table. She armed it off the table. It's not brachiation. Like it's she bapped it off with her paw.
Her hand paw.
Her paw, or a prickly pear. It's a paw. This feels like a chicken and egg argument.
Yeah.
But
came
yes, so
first?
the whole going back to where we originally started from, the inability to imagine certain things, but
yeah.
like being able to imagine stuff. But like, I feel like that's a common human thing, right? Like you just assume, and there are so many things that you do that people don't talk about. Like I have a friend who's a YouTuber who wanted to come up with like a line in a video that was ridiculous, and so he made this he's in a team of 3 people, and he made this joke about how like, oh yeah, let's say someone stands up to wipe after they take a shit, and the other people in his team were like, you don't. And then he did like a Twitter poll, and it was like 50% of people stood up and 50% of people stayed sat down.
Yeah.
But it's just not something you
Stand up?
ever talk to people about. Yes.
That's the thing, because like I remember reading an interview with David Mitchell about he did a scene in Peep Show that he had to be on the toilet for, and he said he all of a sudden got really scared to do it because he was like, "What if I do something that I think is normal?"
Yeah.
But everyone else is like, "Sorry, what are you doing?" sort of thing, because you don't know like what
feel
is
like-
normal in
I
that
think
private
that's what a lot
zone.
of marriage is. It's
Yeah.
opening yourself up to being like, oh, I'm a fucking weirdo.
Or I've married a weirdo.
Yeah. Why don't you? Oh, yeah. Like, why do you wash your toothbrush like that? It's a conversation we've legitimately had.
Yeah. For me, it's that Alex likes to leave his slippers in the middle of a room.
Oh,
And I'm like, why would you put them there? He's like, so I remember them. I'm like, just remember them.
Pixel Wife does this thing where she comes home, she takes her shoes off, and she puts them immediately in front of the front door.
I
And
do that.
It drives me mad. It's like, oh, great. She says, well, I don't need to use that door ever again.
Usually I put stuff in front of my door so I don't forget it, but I don't think I will forget my shoes. But
This sounds like
Maybe I
an excuse.
will.
This is crazy behaviour. Like, I get, like, put them next to the door. Put them...
doesn't work.
Just
doesn't work.
hang them, tie the shoelaces together like you're a drug dealer and put them
Put them
over
on
the
there.
handle.
Oh, that would work. Yeah, I had a crate of Coke, like that. Not Alex, not like Coke. Okay. I had some Coke.
And then you strung the shoelaces
And
together.
I strung the shoelace. I threw it over a power line. No, I had some cans of Coke at my door, and I was like, "Oh, I'll take it next time I play D&D." They like drinking regular Coke. Well, I don't drink it. I drink Diet Coke. And it was there next to my door, and I forgot it. So
Yeah.
I had to then push it against the door, so I could not physically open the door without moving this
Have
Coke.
an NPC moment of like,
Yeah.
why is it not
Why
working?
can't I get out?
Oh,
I need to take that
how frequently do you think you act like an NPC? Because I feel like it's most of the time.
most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like strong NPC energy from me. I have a few responses that when people talk to me, I cycle through,
Yep.
and then I go about my stupid little walk cycle. I do my thing.
Yep.
I'm like a citizen in like the next GTA game where I've got the barest amount of like routine.
And
There's two
sometimes you
lines
learn
to
from the other NPCs. Like if you hear someone say like, "Oh, warm for this time of year," the next person you see, you'll be like, "It's warm for this time of year."
Yes.
I'm learning. I'm advancing.
It's adaptive AI. Like,
Oh dear.
Going back to the things you learn that other people do. Do you believe in soaking things in the sink? Because Alex says it's not a thing, and he says I'm just leaving it there.
no, it's absolutely a thing.
Thank
but
you.
But Pixel Wife used that as an excuse for everything. Like a whole, you'd have a dinner and just tip everything into the washing up bowl, and you're like, yeah, I'll leave that for a few days.
Oh yeah, that's
Like that's not a thing. You put water in a pan, or if you've got
Yeah.
a tough stain, you do it. Not the whole thing. Also, having a washing up bowl was something that my wife she was like, "What are you doing? Why are you putting that in the sink? Why are you not just washing the stuff in the sink?"
I
yeah. It's
will like go
weird.
to have one. We don't have one
you
now.
don't
In our
have one,
flat,
do
we
you?
did.
Yeah.
But I was sort of like, someone questioned it once, and I was like, why do we have a bowl in a bowl? I
So
don't
you don't
understand
scratch
why.
the primary
Yeah.
bowl.
Ah.
Yeah, it keeps everything, and also it means that you can move it, and it's a
Yeah.
useful item to have in the kitchen.
True.
Because we
Yeah.
use them. So on scout camps, we use washing up bowls for almost everything. Like that is just your default unit of I'm isolating something and I'm putting it down somewhere that I
Yeah.
can then move. So I feel like that's the role that I think of it as having in the house as well.
Yeah.
I do not understand people that don't have. Like, but again,
I feel so
when-
uncomfortable when there isn't a washing up bowl there. I'm like, what do I do? Where do I put
Yeah.
everything?
I've been to people's houses where they. Okay, I hope this isn't too much information. Been to people's houses where they don't have toilet brushes, and I'm like, you barbarians!
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, what happens when you need a
feel
toilet
like
brush?
Toilet brushes are probably one of those things that are going to split the room again because a lot of people don't like toilet brushes because they're not very hygienic at all.
I'm not using it to brush my teeth. The only bit of the toilet brush that touches anything that is unhygienic is the same bit.
It's true.
It's animal.
You're not wrong.
Oh no, I guess I'll pick it up this way round just for, just to mix
but-
things up.
As a scientist, can you confirm that the germs on the bottom of the brush are going to migrate to the top of the brush? They're not just going to live on the bottom.
I mean, I can't confirm or deny that because I don't know what the migratory patterns of bacteria
Why
are
do you
like.
not know?
I don't know how far they go. I don't know what their generation time is.
It's like I saw this advert the other day that was for it was saying like, things will jump out the toilet when you flush it and land on your towels and this and that.
Yeah, 'cause you're supposed to
here's
shut the lid,
Yeah.
yeah.
They were like, here's a thing that will cover up the odor. And I was like, but the germs are still there. Just
Yeah.
close the lid,
They
you
just smell
barbarian.
nice.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
It's like, my fecal towel smells delightful still.
Towel. Delightful aroma, darling.
Lemony fresh. What's wrong?
I'm sure they did that on Mythbusters. They put some like toothbrushes next to a toilet and kept
Oh,
flushing
yeah,
it. And I'm
yeah, yeah.
sure
I swear it jumps
that
like 6 foot in the air or something.
Something.
like
I have
that.
heard this. It was like you're never supposed to use your phone in the toilet.
Oh dear.
Everyone immediately is like,
Oh.
because your
What
your
else are you
fecal
supposed to
particles
do?
are just adhering to this, like coating your phone.
How else am I keeping myself entertained?
Yeah,
I can only read the
that-
shampoo
that-
bowl so many times.
It's that meme of like Dr. Manhattan on Mars. Like when you forget to bring
yeah.
your phone to the toilet and you're just there like sat in a wilderness. Like this must be what my ancestors felt like.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like what this is ultimately boiled down to is binary stuff. It's like things that people do and don't do that we just do not talk about.
Yeah.
Like Marmite is like probably the most famous example, but I'm sure people's houses are full of these things.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know.
Definitely.
Well, it's like I remember in my nan's day, it was common to have like the carpet around the toilet and
Yeah.
stuff like
Oh,
that.
God.
Whereas
Even
when I see that, I'm
when
like,
I was
"Ooh."
a kid, my parents had the toilet rug thing. And now I'm just like, if anyone's got one, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to touch that. Just kick it out the way.
That's a fecally rug.
Fecal rug.
Although, how do you feel about my squatty potty?
I like the squatty potty.
I'm sorry?
I want one myself,
I
honestly.
have a squatty potty.
Right.
So a squatty potty is like a footstool that wraps around your toilet and it lifts your knees up so you're pooping in a more natural
it's like the
way.
bricks that you can put. I've always wanted to try this.
They're
Come
very
and
good.
poop at our house.
Yeah, go poop at Brownies.
Come on over, take a shit. Like,
Oh my gosh, it's like every time I go around Trot's, because Trot has this fancy toilet and it has like a built-in bidet. I've never used a bidet before,
Right.
which is another like quite divisive thing. Every time I'm around his house, I'm like, come on, need to go. And I never do. I'm just there like, we
just
again?
run to his house and knock on the door.
There's no time to explain. I like what he's done with the
place.
place. Nice scientific instruments.
His toilet is so fancy. Like literally, it's got a sensor, so if you go near it, the seat opens. And I went into his bathroom to just change my t-shirt once, and the toilet opened, and I was like, well,
was like,
it'd be
hello.
rude not to. I found myself just going for a wee out of politeness, like, oh, thank you. And it's got like a heated seat, so I was like,
Oh
was
my
someone
God, I
just
didn't realise
on
that Trot
this?
was so into his
Oh my
toilet.
gosh, his
Fancy
toilet is
toilets.
amazing. Just go around his house, see if you can use his toilet.
It's the fanciest toilet I've ever used. I went to Korea for a conference once, and I had like a toilet that had like a command, imagine like a captain's chair from Star Trek.
Oh
It had
my
like the
God.
command buttons on
Like
the
a
sides.
keypad on the side.
And I like got Google Translate out to try and see what they were, and it was not helping. It was like, this one means waterfall. And I was literally, I went and I was like, let's give this a go. I just pressed a random button. I used that toilet once. I was not willing to risk anything else going on there.
I think Alex asked recently, because we were around Trots the other day, and he was like, when you throw up in the toilet, do you use the bidet to rinse your mouth?
Got like a dog drinking. Got to get rid of the taste. Oh, that's
Double
horrific.
purpose.
I'm not sure if I'd like a heated toilet seat because that feeling when
Yeah.
someone's been on the toilet and you sit down next and it's still warm.
That's
It's
Oh, I
like,
like,
know what
because
you're
I
doing.
didn't know
Like, oh,
it
I
was.
don't wanna feel
It's that
that.
feeling of they've been here a while.
yeah, someone's been here and they got comfy.
That was like a thing, like in British public schools, like 100 years ago. You'd have like older boys would find younger boys to sit on the toilet for them
Oh,
to
really?
warm it up. Can't remember the name of it, but there was like a name for
my
this,
God.
but it's like thing. It was a bit like sort of the system in ancient Greece, where like have like warriors take on like younger boys and stuff. But it's like just sit on the toilet for me.
Sit on the toilet for me, boy.
I remember when I first went to Norway, I made a man sit on the toilet. No, I didn't realise it was quite common to have heated flooring in the bathroom there for when you get up in the night. And I was like, that was nice.
That's very, very nice.
Having it on your little
Yeah.
feetsies.
I'm now analysing like things like my daily routine. And I'm thinking, am I a weirdo? Like, do I do things that like going to bed or waking up? Like something that I've started doing that it's not necessarily controversial, but I'm really glad I've started doing is not having my phone in the bedroom.
Yes.
That's
Like-
a good idea. I don't do that.
Because it means you actually have to get up. If I want to know what's going on in the world, I have to
Yeah.
actually get up. And
Yeah.
like, getting up is the hardest part. As soon as you're scrolling on your phone in bed, like,
Yeah.
on your,
I would
yeah.
probably benefit from that, honestly. I'm awful though. Like,
You're naughty for screens in bed.
yeah.
I say this as if we share a bed all the time.
We share a bed all the time.
Oh, she's terrible.
She's so bad. But no, I do. I'm really, really bad, and I'm just as bad at getting back up in the morning. If my alarm goes off, I snooze it constantly, and I have to throw my phone to the other side of the room before I go to bed. Otherwise, I will pick the phone up, turn off every single alarm, and then go back to sleep.
Yeah. Get a cat. They will not let
I've got
you
a
sleep
cat.
in.
He's very good. He's very well
really
behaved.
polite.
Yeah, he's very polite. He sits next to me until my eyes open, and at that point, he's like, "Right, you're awake now." And then he'll start smacking me on the head.
Oh,
But I
Susie,
have to open my eyes first.
we lock Susie downstairs, and this is a 10-year-old, quite slender cat. And as soon as we wake up in the morning, you can hear her from down a flight of stairs just going, "Ah!" Like, and they'll be like, it's quite funny how a cat can convey emotion, even in a meow. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it will be like that, and sometimes it will be like a, "Ah!" Like, come on! And then there'll be like a desultory, like, "Ah!" And she won't stop. She will not stop until you go down and like open the door. She'll cuddle with you for a minute, and then she'll demand to be fed. Like, that's a great way of getting yourself up.
See, Tabs is a real gentleman,
He
isn't he?
is,
Like,
yeah.
he stayed with us a bit, and he would... I opened my eyes, I woke up, and he was just there waiting. And then it was only when I tried to close my eyes again, I just felt this little, like, paw bat, and I was like,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm
He's
getting
very
up.
gentle,
Yeah.
and he waits until he knows you're awake before trying to wake you up more.
Oh, bless him.
Although I say that, he's very good with you, he's very good with me. When he stayed at Cat's house, Cat Strike,
She a bad influence.
well, he was just very naughty. He was constantly waking her up like 4 a.m,
my
like
gosh.
smacking her around the face. And I was like, Tabs, what got into you?
Does she have this with other animals? Because you know how like some people just have like bad reps with animals for some reason.
She's very, very good with cats, like
just this
incredibly good. But Tabs was just like, I can take advantage of this.
I have a friend who has a Dachshund, and this dog is very friendly with everyone. But as soon as it looks at me or like goes near me, it's like giving me evil eyes. And as soon as I move an inch towards it, like he'll tolerate me if I've got a treat, but in any other situation, he'll just like this tiny Dachshund will just start growling at me.
Oh, no.
And it's like, why me? What have I done?
It's so funny to see how like different animals react to different people. Back when I worked at the RSPCA, we had a dog in who he was, you know, for like senior members of staff only because he had behavioural issues. But he was a very lovely boy. Once he knew you, he was fine. But he hated the boss of the whole centre. He could not stand her. He saw her car, he would go mental. He saw her children, he would go mental.
Yeah.
He saw the horse box, he'd be like, it's her horse box. And if he saw her from like the other side of the site, he'd be like, there she is, that woman again. It's just like, oh god, there she just wheel her away.
It's like, what have I done to earn the ire of this animal?
Yeah.
Like, they found out I don't have a toilet brush. They found out like one of these social things.
That's it.
We used to have a dog like that would come into the vet quite regularly. She was this tiny, ancient Yorkshire Terrier, and she would try and bite you all the time, but she had no teeth left, so it was just like, oh no, you got me. But she absolutely hated one of the vets, and she was always the one that would be free when she came in, and she'd be like, hello, and the dog would be like, she's just like, yep, okay, yep, let's get on with it, shall we? But the dog would like let me pick her up and cuddle her, and everyone would be like, how are you doing this? I'm like,
Yeah. It's funny. It's like Tabs as well. When my cat was in rescue, like because I adopted him from the place I worked at, he was really scared. He would bat at people. He would hide all the time. But he liked me, and I was like, oh my god, I love him so much. And I ended up adopting him because he just like warmed to me, and I was like, oh, I need to take him now. It's so nice when they finally like, you know, warm
we
up to
got
you.
that
But,
with,
but then there are people that they just hate.
with Genevieve, when we adopted her, there would like she was so grumpy, and she would like lunge at you and bite you. And it was only when I understood that she hadn't been around people before, and that was her way of saying, I like your cuddles and your company, please stay. But her way of telling you that was, I'm going to bite you so you know I'm angry at you, sort of thing. And I just remember one time she bit me, and I just went into the bedroom where Alex was. I sat down on the bed and I was like, she hates me.
Aw.
But then from then on, she just like once I understood her, she became like the cuddliest bunny in the world. We would like nap together every day, and as soon as I got home from work, I'd lie on the floor and she'd hop over and she'd flop into Little Spoon, and we would just fall asleep together and stuff. So
I'm getting there with our cat. Like Susie, we adopted a couple of months ago, and she's still at this point where she'll demand cuddles. She knows that she wants attention, but as soon as you reach out, she'll be like, "No, what are you doing?" It's like, you call me idiot cat. Like, and as soon as you pick her, you can hold her like a baby. Like, you can put her on her back and your arms, and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is great," and like, sit on your lap for ages. But up until she's still, there's this gap where like she hasn't learned.
Yeah.
It's like a dog not wanting you to throw, not wanting to drop the ball so you can throw it again. Like, she's still. It's a funny cat.
Yeah.
Not
It's
a
like
thought behind her eyes.
My cat does that too. Like, I'll be sitting at the PC, sometimes like late at night, no lights on, and I will feel he will jump up, put his hands on the on the armrest, and he will tap me on the arm like, "Hello, can I have attention, please?" And I turn around to pick him up, and he's like, "No, fuck off."
it's like
He runs
the
away.
meme of the cat that's like, "Pet me with your eyes."
Yes. Oh, it's infuriating. Or like, she'll hide under tables. She'll like, meow at you, and then as soon as you come close, immediately hide under a table.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. It's also the fact that like she stares at you and she has eyes that point in very slightly different directions. Like they're very slightly outwardly looking, and so she looks at you with this like not fixed stare. She's like, "I can see through time."
That's crazy.
Like, and it just definitely adds this image of like, I don't think you know what you're doing. Like,
I love cats are just such a like loose cannon,
Yeah.
aren't they? It's like I was looking after one of my friend's cats recently, and I got there in the morning on time to feed him, and he was there like, "Meow, meow," and I put the food in his bowl, and then he took one look at it, and he was like, "Okay," and he walked off. I was like,
like-
"You just wanted to check I was going to do it or something? Like, were you not hungry?"
I've been satisfied.
You
Mother
get the
did not lie
job.
to me.
You're a funny little beast.
Yeah.
Do you think pets do things that are like the other cats don't talk about, but like if they knew, like
Probably, because sometimes you do get like, typically I think if you have two dogs and one is like more affectionate than the other, or like if you have a dog and then you get a puppy and the puppy will be acting so goofy and the dog's just there looking like, "No, I'm grown
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
I can behave. Look at me sitting. I'm so good."
It's like, what's the cat or dog equivalent of standing up to wipe? Like,
Yeah.
like, do you get dogs that don't lift one leg up to pee? They just sort of kind of like do a downward dog
I guess
or
like,
something.
It'd probably be like when they scratch against the wall to bury the poop, and it's like nothing's getting buried. You're just scratching
Yeah.
the wall. It's like, but you don't scratch the wall. What happens to your poop?
Poop. Susie did this thing exactly that, where we had to change litter trays because you get in the litter tray and then poop off the side of the litter tray.
Cabs does that.
And then look at it and be like, "Yeah, great job
Yeah.
done." Like, give it a bit of a rake with her paws. And then get out of the litter tray and be like, "Oh, I wonder who did that." And then walk away. Like, I'm imagining like a council of cats watching. It's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I was going to say,
Weirdo.
I bet Tabs would not admit to the fact that he poops off the side of the litter tray to other cats.
honestly, like the intensity that the bunnies will sniff their own poo that they've just done on the floor, they're sort of turn around and be like, "What's this? Who put this in?" And I'm like, "Oh, I wonder." They are little pickles. I wonder if there is like a divide between litter box cats and outdoor pooping
Yeah.
cats. They're like, you
Definitely.
go where?
You poo inside?
Your humans don't pick up your shit. I make sure I look at mine when they're doing it to make sure they're doing it properly.
And then I jump on their lap and rub it all over them.
I've been trying to build up a collection of mine, but they keep taking it away.
I'm finding new places to store it now.
Our cat, Susie, has started this thing. We have to be very careful. She's been peeing on our welcome mats.
Oh.
Which
To welcome people.
presumably, but you don't notice because it absorbs it.
Yeah.
So there's no puddle or anything. You're like, "What's that?" She's pissed in the like. It's the worst place for them to possibly do it because it's like a perfect crime until it suddenly starts smelling.
Yeah.
amazing. Oh, jeez.
It reminds me of when Tab stayed the first time and I was home alone. So I weed with the door open and he walked in and I was like, he's going to tell Kirsty that I have abused him. Like I've let him see this. And she's going to be like, what did you do to my boy? He's going to be traumatized.
like Skippy. Did you watch Skippy the bush kangaroo? It was
Oh
like
yeah, what's
remember
that,
that.
Skip?
Was that Skip? Like the cat comes and just meows, and it's like, she did what? She pissed with the door open?
But then
Down the well?
I had like both Mochi and Ripley staying, and they both just wander in, and I'm just like, okay, I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
It's company.
The problem with Tabs is if you close the door, if you close any sort of barrier, he will then start clawing the carpet. So you can't piss
Yeah.
in peace. Because he'll be on the other side of the door like, what are you doing in here?
Mother, let me in.
I need to come in and lick my butt.
I picked a bad time to drink. Good grief.
Because like the bunnies are downstairs and we've only got an upstairs zoo, it's never something I've had to worry about. But genuinely the other week I was on the loo and I'd left the living room door open and Fionn came up to the top of the stairs and she just looked in and I looked at her and we were like, we just won't talk about this. And then she just turned around and went back down. We were like, okay.
Oh dear, how long have we been going for?
I guess it's time for us to wrap up now.
Not a huge amount of discussion of dreams, actually. Just
This is how it goes generally.
In conclusion, put more time into your, the projects that you want. Don't set fire to them.
Yeah.
Don't try and make bread in the microwave. I feel like it's probably a good takeaway
Yeah.
from this.
Yeah.
That's it. Get a nice oven instead.
Get a
Focus
routine.
on your favourite bread.
Yes.
Give it time to prove and all of those other things that I learnt on Bake Off.
Yeah.
So I really want to make some bread now, like
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah. Nice focaccia. Where can people find you? Not your home address.
I was going to
but
say
just
my
in
address
general.
is 7. People can find me on YouTube as just Simon Clark, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Simon Oxfizz, and I'm on Twitch at Dr. Simon Clark because brand consistency is not a thing.
True. And he's very good at answering random, definite scientific questions
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
as
if you want
well.
to raid my Twitch stream, please be my guest.
Yep.
I'll do
If you
my
have
best.
any scientific questions for Dr. Simon, feel free to tweet them.
Scientific in about 8 quotation marks.
Yes. Do bunnies have hands? Do cats have hands?
Do minotaurs have 4 stomachs? Was the most recent
Yep,
one.
yeah.
Yep.
Which also I was doing a study stream and I was like, let's just get back to work. 'Cause I think Bryony might rate it. It was like, bam! Straight away. 2 minotaurs have 4 stomachs. I'm like, all right. Okay.
Serenity now.
It's like a difficulty multiplier on Twitch.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it.
Well, thank you so much for joining
Yes.
us.
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me. This was fun.
Yay.
Thank
It's been
you.
really lovely.
Kirsty, as always.
Thank you, Bridie.
And until next time, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.